Hi, I'm Sarah from the Writing Room. And so many of us and so many writers have just this dream that I want to write a book. And we don't know where to start. And the challenge of writing, and kind of my job as a writing coach, is to take wannabe writers and just show them how to start. Because there's a big difference between an idea and a finished book. And that is really the work involved in writing. And I've identified what I call the 5 kind of places that most writers and all writers get stuck, because we all get stuck along the way in our own places, in our own times, and with our own personal issues coming out, or technical issues. So the very first place that I think writers get stuck or can get stuck is on the idea. The very idea of the book. Is it set in 1920 or is it in the future? Is he an architect or a lawyer or a werewolf? Is it a romance or crime or a young adult book? And we can stay in this loop of ideas for a very, very long time. So it's the very first place as a writer. You have to just make a fixed decision. And this is the point that you go, you know what? Here's an architect. It's set in the future and it's for young adults. That's my book. All right. So it's about making a series of decisions, putting a stake in the ground and saying, this is the book I'm writing and I'm moving ahead with this idea. Of course, I know there are better ideas out there and I could probably make it a better idea, but I'm sticking with this one. It's where a lot of us get very, very, very challenged and caught in our heads and in all the stories we want to tell. And we forget that a book, even a non-fiction, a memoir, a book is really about one thing, one character on one journey with one goal. And within that, we can bring lots of complexities, but we try and write about everything. So with most writers, we have to move beyond that place. So the next place that so many writers I work with get stuck are in the first few chapters. And I'm literally talking the first 3. They will write the first 3 chapters and they will go back and edit and fix and make it a little bit better and make it sharper and make it funnier and improve it. And soon what happens is you've never moved beyond your first 3 chapters. And as a book editor and as a writing agent, I want to tell you that those first 3 chapters are probably not going to make it into the final book. Because most often, those are the chapters we change. At the very end, when we've got our absolutely best possible book, and I've just worked with a writer who's on a 4th romance novel, and we've done the edit, it's looking fantastic, and I just said to her, I want the first 3 chapters completely redone, using more dialogue, changing this and changing that. So please don't agonize at the beginning of the writing process about the beginning of the book. Please get this down and just move on. That beginning will change. So, 3rd place, I'm going to just talk about now. About the 3rd place, so many writers get stuck, is at the first 20,000 words. Off we charge. Write. Commit to paper. Tell the story. Then we do a word count. And it's 20,000 words. So what has happened? Most often, what has happened is you haven't done the plotting work. You haven't done the work up front to sit down and say, how can I tell this story? How can I plot it and carefully plan the story so that I will take the reader through a series of events, obstacles, conflicts, to the place where there's a shift in the hero. So we underestimate as first-time writers quite how long a book is. Remembering that a full-length book is in the region of 70,000 words, and give or take, historical novels can be longer. Some of the genre romances can be shorter. So bearing in mind that is what we're aiming for. There is work required in actually devising a plot that takes the reader on a long enough journey to get to the place of a book. So that's the work in being a writer. I've highlighted 3 of the stumbling blocks, and let me tell you, there are many more black holes we all get sucked into, but I'll update you about that a little bit later. You can also read it on my blog at thewritingroom.co.za, where you can get lots of tips and advice, and we'll chat soon.